Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you today to another Credit Safe webinar. My name is Nathan Kolb. I will be your host today, and want to just give you a little bit of a lay of the land, let you know kind of how things go. We want you to be able to interact with us. We're glad that you're here, and we want you to be able to interact with us. So the way we do that is through the question and answer icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So look down to the bottom, there's a little text bubble with Q&A. Go ahead, click that, and you can put in a comment. You can put in any question that you have. We will be taking questions all throughout and then answering them all at the end once we're going through here. We also will have a chance for some polling questions to come out, and you'll be informed about that. It'll just pop up on your screen. Please go ahead and answer that. It'll be open for about 3 minutes. You'll be able to answer the two questions in the poll, and then we'll get the results, and that'll help inform our discussion today. I also want to remind you that we do record these webinars, so you don't have to worry about taking notes or writing down any links or anything like that we've talked about unless you really want to, because you'll get a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours after this webinar concludes. That'll be sent directly to you at the email you used for registration, and it will include a link to the recording as well as some other information and all of that. So today we're going to be talking about the health of your data, specifically about what a periodic portfolio review is. And we have a regular guest here with me again today, Mark Edwards. He's the Managing Director of Credit Safe USA. He's a registered global credit professional, has about 15, 16 years, I think it is, in the credit business and information industry, and has an expertise in portfolio management, credit and risk solutions, business development, and has worked with companies of all different sizes, all different industries, just has a really extensive background in all this. So Mark, welcome. Glad to have you as always.
Thank you, Nathan. I'm going to have to ask for your assistance. I've got several screens that I need to switch in between. So if I refer to one, please just make sure that we're looking at the correct screen.
I'm sure I can do that. We're looking at a great start off screen here, so I think we're good.
Excellent. So let's start by looking into the data decays up to 40% a year. Your customer data is a critical asset and arguably the company's most valuable asset. So let's start by saying how important it is to conduct regular overall portfolio reviews, regardless of the state of the economy. Credit Safe changes over, or updates, should I say, over 3 million data items a day. So the companies that you're working with are constantly going to be changing. So are their company details, company name, address, etc., and also their risk profiles. So good credit management is a complex and in-depth subject and far deeper than the time we have got allowed today. But at its very core, the number one principle is about know your customer, or KYC. We hosted a webinar on August the 4th, Nathan, with our partner, Sorella. Yes. I believe it's available on our website, which we discussed the basics of KYC and know your customer. But KYC can be simplified into two distinct and equally important processes. You have the onboarding of new clients and the ongoing monitoring of existing clients. And today's webinar, we're going to focus on the ongoing monitoring element of KYC, and we aim to provide some guidance as to the resources available to credit managers. Utilizing best practices and data insights can make all the difference in understanding your portfolio. It will help you maximize profit potential and minimize the risk of bad debt. So with that, what is a portfolio review? A portfolio review helps businesses evaluate their customer portfolio quickly and efficiently. Performing a portfolio review manually can be an overwhelming task, particularly if there's high volumes of clients. One of the common stories we hear from our customers is when they conduct periodic reviews of their customers, generally on an annual basis. This takes the form of having their credit teams focus on nothing else bar pulling paper reports for the period of time. We also hear stories where they'll recruit a team of interns to come and assist with this task. So whatever the size of your customer file, whether it's 500 or 100,000 records, we can run a check and provide you with a report detailing the quality and risk profile of your data. The credit safe portfolio review is split into two parts. You have your data health check and your data append. To receive either of these, we need to receive a file from the customer with the following data. If it's international, we need a country identifier, but we need company name, street address, city, state, zip, and phone. We can receive that data securely via an SFTP. We can receive an Excel file, CSV, text file, most of the common file formats. As we mentioned, the incoming file content would need to include company name, address, city, state, zip. The return file we'll talk about later, and the turnaround time is generally within 48 hours, regardless of the file size. So with that, I'm going to stop the share there and switch, Nathan, to the data health check. So if you can bear with me. So the data health check is the 10,000 view of your customer base. It's essentially a bulk credit report on your customers. It contains no account-specific information, but the general look at the portfolio. So first of all, as we scroll down, this is a PDF document that gets returned within 48 hours. You have your match rate. Basically, the higher the match rate, the better. On first pass, we typically achieve between 70 and 80% matching. Anything lower than that can indicate problems with the incoming data. Anything higher than that is all good. One of the common phrases you'll hear with data matching is garbage in, garbage out. So just because we haven't achieved the match, it doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't exist in the CreditSafe database. It just means the data's too far removed from what we hold. Then we have the DBT bands of your portfolio. So this will give you an idea of whether you're dealing with a portfolio that typically plays within terms or a higher percentage of 90 plus. Then we look at the risk ratings of the portfolio. Very often, customers are surprised with the number of recent bankruptcies within their portfolio, and we detail that straight away. So in the portfolio that we're viewing here, there are 61 bankruptcies. As we scroll down, then we have the geographical spread of the portfolio. This is particularly handy when you're trying to determine the appropriate course of action when dealing with a local event, let's say a weather event or a political situation. You can determine how you want to handle accounts in those particular areas. As we scroll down, you then have the industry spread of your portfolio. Again, it's common sense to be aware of the industries that you're dealing with. Particularly, at times during like a pandemic such as we're in at the moment, you want to know which industries are performing well, which are at risk. As we scroll down further, you then have the company size information. So the number of employee bandings, estimated revenue bandings. So scroll down. Derogatory legal counts and value, and of course years trading. So the data health check, as I mentioned, is no account specific information, but it's designed to give you that 10,000 foot view of your portfolio, how that looks to CreditSafe at this point in time. I'm going to stop my share and switch to the Excel, and we're going to move on to talk about the data append element of this. So
Mark, while you're doing that, I'm going to send this this poll out, if that's okay with you, in between here, and kind of get that started. So folks will be seeing that here for the next 3 minutes. You'll have this poll launching, and Mark, you can keep right on going with the data append and everything. Just wanted to break in there for a second.
So essentially, anything that you see within a credit report can be added to your file. I've got a list here of the sort of commonly appended items. So this will include company address information, generic information such as is the company active, number of employees, contact information for the officers, telephone number, and then the risk information, so credit scores, credit limits, total number of trades, and whether the company is a duplicate or not. So I'm going to look at a sample file. This would be representative of the type of file that we receive from a customer. The fields A to F are what is provided. And then from column G onwards, we're able to append various pieces of information. So I'm just going to run through column by column very quickly. So we can append the credit safe ID. This will help with monitoring and searching a company. We'll tell you if a company is active or inactive. So simply by selecting no, we're able to see there's 82 companies in this portfolio that we deem inactive. Obviously very interesting information to know, especially if there's an outstanding balance. Then we give you the legal company name and address. So there's, just make sure that it's standardized. We'll scroll through to column N. We have the company, sorry, the number of employees, annual sales, industry code. So we give you the SIC and description, as well as the NAICS and description. The established date of the organization, website, parent and ultimate parent information. Then we move on to the senior officer of the organization with the telephone number. And then the credit scores. Credit rating, days beyond terms, credit limits, total number of trades, highest credit amount, number of legal filings, and bankruptcy information, as well as the international score. So all of this information is important to be able to segment your database. For example, if you wanted to know, we mentioned about bankruptcies, simply by applying the filter, we'll see the companies that are currently bankrupt within the portfolio. If you wanted to prioritize your collections by risk banding, you could simply select the high risk accounts, and then we can see that there's 66 high risk accounts within this portfolio. The last feature that I really like about the portfolio review is the ability to identify duplicates. And this is given by basically, is this a duplicate? Yes or no. And if we scroll across, you'll see you have two different duplicates there. So let me stop that. I'm just going to switch back to my PowerPoint, Nathan.
Go right ahead. We do have that poll finished up. Thanks, folks, for joining us on the poll there and giving us the information on that. We'll talk about that here in just a minute.
So the key benefits of the periodic portfolio review is obviously to understand your credit risk, highlight trends within the portfolio, particularly if you're doing this on a periodic basis. You want to track the dynamics that shape your portfolio over time. It's probably worth adding that old and inaccurate data can have a negative impact on your results. A good portfolio review strategy will support customer retention and growth whilst negating any risk. The frequency and depth of the portfolio is obviously determined by the person performing the review. Our recommendation is this should be done at least every 90 days, perhaps even 30 days is optimal. But back to the key benefits. We want to identify incomplete, incorrect, inaccurate, or irrelevant data. By ensuring, incorrect and inconsistent data can lead to false conclusions and misinformed decisions. So the information that you're using in your customer base can drive a lot of strategies and make obviously better decisions. We want to improve the accuracy and integrity of your data by ensuring your data is correct, consistent, and usable. Fewer errors essentially means happier customers, happier credit controllers. Enhanced insight helps you extract maximum value from your portfolio. We talked about the benefits of managing data duplication. Should your marketing or sales teams launch various campaigns, you don't want to be sending those to existing customers. You also want to make sure that when you're billing your customers, you're billing to the right account and not any duplicates. And last but not least, you can identify new growth opportunities. So the more you know about your customers, the better you can target them with appropriate product recommendations and other campaigns. And with that, Nathan, I will hand over to you for questions.
Yes, sir. First, I just want to highlight the poll that we have here. So we had most folks responding to the poll. We had one of our attendees here has done their portfolio. The first question was when was the last time you conducted a portfolio review? One of our attendees here has done that in the last 90 days. 3 have done it in the last 12 months, and the rest have never done it. So definitely have a bunch of folks that are learning for the first time here on what's going on with that. And then not surprisingly, based on that, most folks would love a complimentary portfolio review. So why don't you, Mark, talk about that maybe and the Stay Safe program, kind of how that goes with that and all that, and then I can follow up with the follow-up email.
Yeah, to start the portfolio review is very straightforward. If you are a customer, I would recommend speaking with your account manager. That's the smoothest way to do this. They'll tell you exactly what data you need to include in your file, how to send it to us securely. We then, they will also take responsibility for having our analyst team run that against our database, extract the relevant information, send it back to you, and if needed, they can talk you through the results. The whole process takes about 48 hours from start to finish, i.e. getting the data to us and then returned back. And then we'll sort of talk about the sort of key functions. For those people on the webinar that are not customers, we have a program called the Stay Safe program, which offers portfolio review, periodic portfolio review at 30, 60, and 90 days. Please go to our website. I think it's creditsafe.com/stay safe and register there. And one of our reps will reach out to you and again, talk you through the process of sending the file and how we can give you that information back.
Yes. And again, we'll have that in the follow-up email and on the landing page for this webinar. So folks, it won't be hard to get to this. And if you just go to the main website, if you go to creditsafe.com, there's a link right there. You'll see it. So a couple of questions here. Mark, you had mentioned international data. Is there any difference or anything else that you need when doing a portfolio review on international data other than the country identifier?
No, it's sometimes the address formats. I've used the US address format here just for simplicity, but not all countries follow the same format. So sometimes that can cause a little bit of an issue, but generally, as long as we've got the country code or country identifier in there, we're able to say, this is a US record, this is a UK record. Okay.
And then you had mentioned data matching. What would cause something to come back as unmatched?
There are several reasons, but the simplest one is it doesn't exist in the CreditSafe database. That would generally be if the company is very new or very small. However, most of the time it's issues with the incoming data. So that would include the credit manager leaving little abbreviated notes after the company name in their CRM system. So cash sales only is a typical one, do not invoice, cash on delivery. But also missing information, so not having an address. It could be that this is a local company that you're very familiar with and we haven't taken the time to input the information. So it's generally due to inaccurate or missing information.
Okay. And that's something that can be fixed in the back and forth, or is that just well?
The benefit of doing this periodic review is the first time you really get a benchmark for the hygiene of your data, if you like. Let's say you come back with a match rate of 70%. There's actions there for you to be able to go through, quickly identify the 30% where we're unable to match, check the data, make sure that it's accurate. And then over the course of the, whether this is a 3-month or a 6-month exercise, is the goal should be taking that from 0.1 to a much higher rate over the period of time.
Okay. So there is the opportunity for folks to go back and forth, adjusting this over time, whether it's, every 30 days or what have you.
Yeah, I wouldn't look at this as a once and done type exercise. The real benefit is doing this periodically, making sure that the data stays accurate, stays up to date, and you're able to maximize the information you're getting back about all of the customers you have in your portfolio.
Okay. What about multi-location companies? How does that match?
Matching's fairly challenging. We've got about 300 that will take combinations of the company name and combinations of the different addresses, and generally they will pick them up.
Okay. And I've got one more question here. Let me just read it and make sure I understand what I'm going to ask you before I ask you. Sorry about that. Got to make sure I get the right thing here. But with basically the question is, I'll paraphrase here, and if it's incorrect, I apologize, are you recommending this more often now because of COVID, or is this just like a best practice, should be doing it no matter what, COVID or not?
I think the idea or the benefits of running the portfolio, particularly during this time, are exaggerated just because of what's going on. So the the benefits are amplified. Best practice, we would say do this on a 30-day basis, but it's all down to the individual company whether they have the resource to be able to analyze the data, to be able to dive in. But I certainly would recommend 30 or 90 days, and particularly during the pandemic that we're in and seeing so many companies struggling. You basically want to make sure you're protecting your own business.
Of course.
And obviously identifying other opportunities to grow. We just kind of focus on the negative implications, but there's also positives as well.
Yeah, and maybe talk about that for a second before we go any further. Just what are some of those positive things or other things that folks can do with this data once they've gone through the portfolio review? So
one of the things I commonly hear is when we look at the data health check is they'll see an industry that's represented that they didn't necessarily know they were selling to. Again, that opens up a complete new marketing or sales revenue opportunity. So people get excited about that. But, there are evidently lots of industries that are suffering at the moment, but there are some industries that are excelling. So we could, refocus your sales efforts and sell into those particular industries as well.
Right. Great stuff. Well, Mark, I want to thank you. We knew this was going to be kind of a focused and a little bit of a shorter, but we're actually doing great on our time here. We've answered all the questions. We've done the poll. So I want to thank you for your time. Thank you all, folks, for being here with us. Hopefully this has been a great thing and has shown you kind of how to take care of this and do these periodic portfolio reviews with our tool here. And like I said, you'll get the information on this from the follow-up email. I promise you'll get it in the next 24 to 48 hours. And you can, if you haven't received it for some reason, you can always reach out to me and I'm happy to direct you in that regard. But just giving you a heads up as well, we have these webinars every week. We've got something going on. Next week, we actually have 2 webinars coming up. The first is Connecting Credit Safe with SAP. Mark had mentioned that we've been doing a series of webinars with our partner Sarala. That is on Wednesday, the 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific. And then we have Credit Management, COVID-19, and Best Practices in South America. So a focus on credit management and everything in South America on Thursday next week. That's the 20th, again at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. So we hope you can join us. But thanks for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again soon. And have a great rest of your day, everybody.